You've already heard from Jane Smith in North Otago about how incredibly dry it is. Let's head up the road a wee bit to Banks Peninsula. There we find Tony Cochrane, who's the National Velvet Manager for PGG Wrightson. We're going to have a look at that industry today. But before we do, Tony, how are you guys on Banks Peninsula faring?
Pretty much hand to mouth, Jamie. There's a pick of green grass there, but really we've missed that spring flush. Crops have only just managed to strike. At the end of the day, the stock are reasonably healthy in a warm season like this, but we'd love to have a lot more feed in front of us.
You've just been recently, and I think in the past few days, been in Hawke's Bay. There's an area that was looking for a summer dry or staring down the barrel of one, but they've had some good rain. In fact, most of the North Island's dodged a bit of a bullet.
Yeah, dead right. Yeah, I was amazed. It's the polar opposite to what we've got down here, which is normally the reverse. But yeah, they've got a lot of feed banked up, some of it as high as the fence lines, and it's really going to help their recovery coming out of drought too, to have a lot of grass go to seed, but also, get the mouths full and try and recoup some of the, I suppose, the income they've lost through the drought period.
Tony, let's have a look at the dairy industry. Your area of expertise is velvet. Of course, the other product we take off dairy is venison, and venison's woes have been, I guess, well publicised off the fact that it goes into the high-end food service industry, and it's been a real battle for dairy farmers this year, the venison side of the equation I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's dead right, and that puts a lot more reliance on velvet to take up the slack. Of course, venison is strategically aligned to the food sector, those European and US restaurants that aren't operating, and that really it shuts down a lot of that trade and the potential. To be fair, the marketers have done very well working together collectively to try and, as they use the word pivot, get away from the restaurant sector into the ready-made meals and online sales, but only so much can go there so quickly, and really it's a matter of patience, and I think the venison companies are working well with their suppliers to try and manage that going forward. And
it's such a wonderful product, and I'd urge anyone who perhaps venison's been out of their reach in recent times to try some domestically. It is a wonderful meat. Look, not every dairy farmer has velveting stags, so tell me about those who are lucky enough to have them. They will have been insulated from some of the downside of the venison part of the animal.
Yeah, particularly velvet has become more of a specialist operation. Many dairy farmers farm sheep and beef as well, but in regards to velvet, there's some pretty large herds out there. Guys that used to cut 1 tonne are now cutting 3, 4, 5 tonne. And so, also we've had RCS, a regulated control scheme, which has meant they've had to tidy up the operations to make everything hygienically clean and getting towards traceability. So velvet is not for, it's not for many newcomers to take on board if they think they're just going to go for the dollars. And we're not really looking for new entrants because it is supply dependent, the market. But yeah, in the case of the dairy industry, velvet represents probably about 45% of the overall income, leaving 55% to the venison sector in regards to export receipts.
Hey, Tony, we haven't got a great line. I do need to finish this. We were initially very, very dependent on South Korea. Have we spread our eggs into a few more baskets?
We're starting to. There's not one branded New Zealand velvet product in China, but Korea is still our main market. A lot of velvet goes from China back to Korea after it's processed. So, but there's more and more staying in China and going back even from Korea. It sounds a bit confusing, but we've got South Korea as our main market, and really that has driven the growth in our industry on the back of the healthy food sector. Represents about 30% of our sales, and that's where we're getting some real pull-through from the market in regards to the New Zealand brand, and that's given us that number one global status as velvet sellers.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Tony Cochrane, National Velvet Manager for PGG Wrightson. Good to chat.